Okay. It's about 10:30 p.m. West Coast time on Sunday, June 29th. Let's talk about nostalgia. Well, first of all, what is it? Let's define it. Nostalgia is a sentimental longing or a wistful affection for the past, often triggered by specific memories or experiences. It's a complex emotion that involves both positive and negative feelings towards the past. It is often triggered by sensory cues like smells, sounds, music, or objects that remind us of happy memories. Nostalgia can be a powerful force connecting us to our past and helping us feel a sense of identity or belonging. While often associated with childhood and simpler times, nostalgia can be triggered by more recent events or experiences. Yeah, that part's bullshit. I'm Gen X. And, so for the last decade, nostalgia has been a huge part of my daily existence. It is thought to be a psychological mechanism that helps us cope with difficult times or transitions, because none of us have any of those going on right now. It can strengthen our sense of self and provide comfort during periods of change. However, excessive dwelling on the past can sometimes be detrimental, preventing us from fully engaging with the present. Because who doesn't want to fully engage with the present? Examples of nostalgia: feeling a pang of sadness when looking at old photographs, hearing a song from your childhood and being transported back to a specific time, like the first time that I heard Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning from Metallica, or any time from like 1980 forward when we got a new Rush album, or a new Iron Maiden album, or a new Motorhead album, or a new Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer album, or Stormtroopers of Death. Experiencing a feeling of warmth and happiness when revisiting a place from your past. Well, that would be Ohio. So, wait, hang on. There are two of those in Ohio. My grandparents' farm and Eagles Pizza in New Albany, Ohio. Feeling a sense of longing for a past relationship or friendship. They should add on to the end of that. Feeling a sense of longing for a past relationship or friendship that didn't involve you having to get a restraining order. Nostalgia can also be painful. The pain can stem from a sense of loss, the realization that past experiences are unrecoverable, or a comparison between a cherished past and a potentially less desirable present. You think? Nostalgia for me is the 80s and the 90s. And every bit of nostalgia for me for the 80s and the 90s is connected to music, and the music from the 80s and the 90s. And, my FYP has been bugging out a little bit lately. It's been showing me all of these like videos from high school in like 1985 and 1986. I graduated from high school in 1986. And I noticed so many things about these videos. First of all, holy shitballs, was it segregated back then in the burbs. Second is the hair. The hair in the 80s in high school, I was blessed to have very good hair, very long, very big, very large hair in the mid 80s. A couple of the women that I dated during that period of time were envious and angry at me for my hair compared to and relative to their hair. And yeah, but the music, I mean, put it this way. There are a couple of different layers here. It was maybe, I don't know, a year or two ago. Somebody on TikTok had asked a question of like, when was the last period of time that living in the United States was just easy? And I was like, oh, I know the answer to that. And I started recording a video response to that comment. And I said the 80s and the 90s, because that was the last time that I think that things were just fucking easy. Everything was easy. And I was making that video, and then I was like, oh, hang on. I should acknowledge, because I'd been on TikTok for a couple of years, and I had been following people who don't look like me, and I had learned a lot during that period of time from people who don't look like me. And I was like, I should qualify that comment by saying that the 80s and the 90s, I think, were the last period of time in the United States where things were just easy for people who look like me. Which I think is accurate on both sides. But, the nostalgia thing for me in music, I mean, fuck, man. In the 80s, it was like I was in high school and I was going to concerts and I was listening to music, and I had just started playing in bands in the mid 80s. And then that kind of progressed into the early 90s. And I was in college and I was playing in better bands, and I was playing better shows and bigger shows. And I was in cool bands that were popular. And just thinking back on some of the gigs that I played with some of the bands that I was in, man, I can't even possibly begin to describe. I mean, this was in Columbus, Ohio. I was going to Ohio State. What it's like, what it was like to get on stage at fucking midnight on a Friday night or a Saturday night at Staches on High Street, and the place was jam fucking packed, and it was like July or August. It was 150 fucking degrees in there, and whatever band I was in headlining that night, we just knew we were going to blow the absolute fucking doors off that place. And I was so incredibly blessed to have been able to do that with 4 or 5 different bands from the early 90s until, I don't know, 1998 or something. And so it's like the 80s, I'm just listening to all the music that we got to listen to and seeing all of those bands at that time. And then in the 90s, being able to play drums with bands that got to play those kinds of shows. I remember every fucking second of those gigs at Staches, man. Staches especially. And opening for bands at the Newport, also on High Street and stuff like that. And there is a pain, there's a loss, there's a grieving that goes with that. And it can be really fucking intense sometimes, especially for Gen X, given what we're living through right now. We did not envision spending our mid-50s fighting against fucking fascism.